And we're back. So we were talking about happy metal here with Corners of Sanctuary, Mick Micheals. So the guys, your band, you're pretty happy with the lineup. You're pretty happy with the tunes. Where can people find your music?
Well, you go to cornersofsanctuary.com and you can get our catalog there. We got stuff for free you can download. There's some of the old catalog, some of the older catalog you can't get anymore, but there's pictures of it, and maybe somebody has it probably illegally online somewhere. So let's find it there as well.
And it cranks, I might add, and it cranks.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, we're on Spotify and all those places. I mean, if you do a search, we come up, the good and the bad and the ugly. Like I said, you could, there's probably some Czechoslovakian, Russian site that you can get our stuff for free, and that's okay. Listen, I've always embraced that. We can't stop it, right? To me, it's free promotion. It's not always the best quality. So I usually say to people, if you're going to rip us off, if you're going to rip the music and give it away for free or make your own dime on it, buy it from us first and use a good copy. We had gotten just a real quick story. We had gotten a review on an album that they, and I'm reading it and I'm going, well, that song's not even on that album. And this song's not on it. And where the hell did they get this song? And so I go I find it, and it's like somebody just took a collection of songs and called it the album and did a review on it. And it was the worst sound. Them MP3s that sound like they're underwater and you get that's what they were listening to. And so there was a whole section of the review on the production. I'm going, well, that's not even, I know some of the early albums weren't maybe the best produced, but they weren't that bad. So that it's a running joke. What are you going to do?
So I want to talk about influencers for a sec, Mick, and it's a funny story. So I'm driving around about 2 weeks ago, and I'm listening to Hair Nation, and out of the blue I hear, Mick Michael, and it was the call in, give a plug for your favorite tune, and it was you, and you referenced Cinderella, and obviously it made sense because of they're Philadelphia and whatnot. But talk about your influences a little bit. I'm not saying that I thought that it was weird to hear from you on there, but I mean, I hear your tunes. I hear what you guys do. I don't necessarily hear Cinderella in there per se, but you obviously have a swath of influences.
Yeah, well, you're right. I think that we're this band, and probably my style is a new wave of British heavy metal and early American heavy metal, and that's like Judas Priest, Accept, Black Sabbath with Dio, but then the American stuff like Kiss. Kiss was a huge influence in the late 70s for me. Still is, actually. I find myself constantly referring back to them. But it's Kiss and Judas Priest for me. They're my main influence. But then again, on the American market, you had early Sabotage, even Rat Dokken, early Queensryche, that kind of thing. So I mean, bands I loved Cinderella. I mean, they had that, like I said on the thing, that they had that perfect mix of blues, rock, and metal, and that blues came out more and more with each album. But I was, I mean, not this, and this probably isn't the coolest thing to say, but I was influenced by the Bee Gees and Neil Diamond in their writing style, and I'm huge fans of those, and the Beatles, and my grandfather was a mummer. He played in the string bands here in Philadelphia. They usually see them on TV on New Year's Day. So he played a lot of banjo, but he played violin and he played accordion. So every Sunday we were singing songs and things of that nature. All these different kinds of polkas and stuff. But my father was into like the Beatles and doo-wop, but my uncle was into Motown. So there was, and then my older brother, hard rock. It was my introduction into hard rock and Kiss and Zeppelin and all that. So there was all this music, and then secretly, I always had an affinity for pop music. So there was just something, the Jackson 5 and the Osmonds. I mean, Wild Stallion, or Wild Horses, and and it carried over into the 80s, and I feel that a lot of that is mixed into the music, at least how I go about hearing things. But I think guitar style wise, not to bore everybody, but it's definitely like, classic Judas Priest 77, 78, 79 style.
Right on. And I mean, it's there's no shame in saying you're a Bee Gees fan anymore. There's a real funny meme that I saw a couple weeks ago, and it's Metallica fan, and the kid's wearing a rocker, and he's got the Beastie, and Metallica lead singer is James Hetfield coming out of a Saks of Fifth Avenue wearing flip flops and cut off shorts, right? So I mean, it's anything's on the table. I want to do this really quickly because I'm a huge Kiss fan. You're a huge Kiss fan. Our buddy Jeff Westlake's a huge Kiss fan, as we know. Favorite album by Kiss?
Well, I would say that it's Rock and Roll Over.
Because I was going to say, my favorite album was always Love Gun, and I got in a massive debate one night up here in Halifax. There's a gentleman named Matt Mays who is a player up here, and he said, no, it's Rock and Roll Over. And when he explained to me the process that they went through to write it and what have you, I was like, yeah, and Rock and Roll Over is definitely my favorite album now, no question.
I think it's a very, production-wise, it's a very warm-sounding album, and I really like that, right? Yes, maybe it's dated for the time and the era of the recording techniques, but I still think it holds up. But I also feel that there's a lot of melodic, there's like melody in there and emotion, more so than some of the other stuff. Yeah, I understand that, like, even their lyrics still are talking about pretty much the same thing, but there's a little bit of emotion to it, and it's a polished album in that sense. Like, I think the maturation of their writing had really come to a point there. And then with Love Gun, I think it dropped just a little bit. I think it changed. It became, because I think that by that time there's so much touring, and I think it just that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Well, we talked about the record companies too. The record companies at the time control the purse strings and control the artists, really. I mean, so it's a matter of, like, you guys want to keep getting paid, you got to get, an album out every year, or sometimes 2 albums in a year, or a live album, and then you got to tour it, and there's a lot of pressure for these guys. So yeah, I don't think you're going to find as many. Sean not talking about 2112 by Rush. I mean, in my opinion, it's a perfect album all the way through. I mean, you can look at Sgt. Pepper's by the Beatles, perfect album all the way through, but they're under no constraints to do that at the time. If you're under constraints from a record company that you got to keep pushing out the stuff, well, you know what? Not everything's going to be a gem, right?
Right. Well, it's still, I mean, Love Gun is still a quality album. There's no two ways about it.
Well, I mean, Love Gun for me is my favorite tune. Rock and Roll Over is my favorite album. Now, if they take the next era, I mean, I love Creatures of the Night. Now, obviously, bombastic in its whole approach and whatnot. But I mean, I was an Eric Carr guy. I mean, I like Kiss, but I really started getting into Kiss when Eric Carr got in the band. So you guys just did a show a couple weeks ago, and I mean, obviously, I was tuned into it because you had contacted the label about looking for some help and what have you. Tell us about this show. I mean, it was in pretty much your hometown or your neck of the woods. Talk about that. Yeah,
we got the opportunity to support the Three Trevors, with Ripper Owens and Sean Peck. It was a great opportunity. It was kind of put in front of us. I think of just 2 weeks before, because that tour was put together pretty fast. And you're seeing that with a lot of the bands. They're putting tours together pretty fast, and they're playing a lot of smaller venues, and they're adding as they go along, because everybody's taking it, in my opinion, everybody's taking advantage of, just in case that other shoe drops, let's get out there and make up and try to finish this year off as strong as we can. So we had that opportunity. Like I said, we reached out to the label for some additional support to make sure that we would be able to secure that slot. And it just was a great show. I mean, it's a phenomenal band. The vocal capacity of the three of each of them individually is amazing. I mean, I think Sean Peck has 4 octave ranges, but then to put all 3 of them up on one stage, like I was saying before we got in between the breaks there, it was almost overwhelming at times. Like, there was just so much going on, but it was well attended. As far as I can tell, with most of the other shows, same thing, well attended. But they're out there, they're doing it. I think that's a positive, man. People want to get back out there and do it, and we want to be a part of that because it's what we do. I mean, we're not only players, but we're fans too. So, we want to be out there playing, but we want to be able to see bands as well.
I appreciate you saying that because I mean that's part of this whole post-COVID reality. It's like there's got to be support. So you can't just go for your own show, but you got to support your brothers who are doing, or sisters who are doing the same thing. So that's important. I'm really glad you said that. Listen, speaking of which, then before we wrap up here, I want to find out, because now we're obviously in Eastern Canada, and although Sean and I are willing to travel anytime, but where can folks go to see you next? Corners of Sanctuary.
We have a Philly show coming up November 20th at the Rusty Nail. It's called the Metal Feast. It's like a pre-holiday thing. It's our last show, Philly, before we head out to the West Coast. We're doing a real short string of shows, 3 of them, which includes a return to the Whiskey A Go-Go on December 2nd with Kill Devil Hill. So we're kind of excited about that. So, I mean, you could see us November 20th at the Rusty Nail in Ardmore, PA. It's right outside of Philly. It's a real cool place. We go back there at least once a year. It's got a great staff. The place has been around since '74. They really support the bands. And then December 2nd, we're at the Whiskey Go-Go in Hollywood. December 3rd, we're at the world famous Da Hut in Anaheim. And then December 4th, we're at the Rastarina Cantina in 29 Palms. And that's actually being put on by Dangerous Doug.
Frank, he was giving me the blow by blow about what it was taking, and you know what? I sincerely hope that show goes great because he put a lot into it.
Yeah.
And Doug and John are both, Dave and I have got to know them over the last year. It's really funny, man. You'll be sitting there 2:00 in the afternoon, you'll get some random link to some band that I've never heard before from Europe that's just incredible. But Doug's always on, man. He's always, he's been internally with us and the bands. He's really promoting that show, and I sincerely think it's going to give some others, a boot in the rump that, hey, Mick's out there doing it. We better get going here, man, because our Sven Galley up here in Canada, I mean, they're getting ready to uncork some stuff, and it's going to be incredible. So I'm really happy that and happy for you that you guys are doing that. I think that's to get out there at this time of year with everything that happened, I think would be large.
Yeah. Well, normally we do a small tour like right before the holidays. It's kind of cool being on the road. Like we usually do a thing like we try to take as many pictures. We find Christmas trees either at restaurants or in hotels or somewhere, and we try to find Santa Claus. One year we didn't find a Santa Claus, but we found a picture of a Santa Claus, so we got it for that. So I mean, it's always a good time. And then we kind of we release a holiday song and then package. So we do some original Christmas music, so to speak. Our next one comes out November 19th. It's Rockin' the Holiday. It's our Merry Metal Christmas 8. So we've been doing it. Actually, this is our 10th year, but this is the 8th year doing the Merry Metal Christmas package. So we're kind of excited about it. There's going to be 9 songs on the release, and then the following week our full album comes out on RFL, Blood and Steel, Fight Till the End. So we're kind of excited about that. So we're trying to finish as strong as we can. It just allows us to start the new year, excited, because everybody last year this time everybody was like, hey, what are we going to do?
You're right. It's nice to be excited about something for sure. And the fact, again, when you have Doug and John from RFL and Sean on your side, and it's a symbiotic relationship that you're working that hard too. I mean, it seems to me like you have a recipe for success, brother. And we wish you all the success. We really do.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
And I don't want to get too cheesy there, my friend, but hey, I know you're from Philly. You might not be a Flyers fan. I don't know, but we had Anthony Esposito on the show. He's a huge Flyers fan.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, right on. Look, Mick, I really appreciate it. And I've been seeing the info internally going on about that record coming out. I'm excited to hear it. Keep us posted, keep me posted. Let me know how those shows go, because I mean they're a few weeks away.
We're doing our best.
You guys,
yep. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
brother, we appreciate you. Thanks for coming on the show. Peace out.
Thank you.
Peace, brother.
Happy holidays, everyone.
All right, you too, man.
You too, Mick.
All right.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Barstools Bandtalk, the complete Bandtalk music bucket list.